that must be a very, very hard result to take. What were your thoughts on the performance tonight?
We lost, but we competed very well, and we reacted after the goal. Fantastic, scoring one goal, drawing, and we were defending very well, competing very well. We didn't concede a lot. Of course, they were dominating the second half and pushing, getting some corners offensively, but we defended very well. We had as well our chances with Marcus Rashford to score the second goal, and the last minute as well. I tried with some South player getting good impact and trying to win the match, but they did the same and they won. Of course, overall, we can feel proud of everything we are doing. The support as well, they were with us today here because they know as well the importance for us to play Premier League at 3 to get Europe again. And disappointed a little bit, but so quick I'm changing my mind, and now we are going to focus the match on Saturday.
Let's look at the starting lineups. We got Dibu Martinez in goal, Matty Cash, Konsa, Torres, Luka Dean, double pivot of Kamara and Onana, Rogers, Tielemans, Ramsey, Marcus Rashford. Man City, they're in a 4-1-4-1. Got Ortega in goal, O'Reilly, Guardiola, Ruben Diaz, Matheus Nunes, the pivot of Kovacic, Marmoush, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, McAtee, and Kevin De Bruyne, the false nine, the free roll. In this video, we're going to look at how Aston Villa were able to bypass Man City's press by going through or over their press to access the fullbacks. So what we see here is that when Aston Villa started their build-up, Onana, the pivot, would move wide, and this would drag De Bruyne, who was man-marking him. Basically, De Bruyne is trying to press him or cut out the space in between. So when Onana moves here, De Bruyne is dragged over here. And so this is a 1v1 situation. Pau Torres, from Spain, he's really good with the ball. So he dribbles into space, and the space created over here. And Tielemans drops in, and Rashford's the guy who's, ready to make those runs. And he wants to connect with Rashford, whereas Man City, they're into this high line situation. So that's what they want to do. And that's how they got their first chance. Basically what happened was that Emery's goal was for Aston Villa to get Man City to vacate that central channel through Onana's movements. So if you have a good dribbler, a guy who's good with the feet, stuff can happen. So another thing that would happen was that when Pau Torres got the ball here, Rashford would also at times drop deep, and like that he would pull one of the City defenders, Ruben Diaz, out with him, and that would create a channel over here. And so what Rogers would do was he would be pinning one of the center backs over here, and he would make that dart into that space over here, and you would have Rogers making the move into that space as well. So if Rashford gets the ball, he can connect with Kamara, this guy over here, Tielemans, and they can pump the ball over here, and then Aston Villa can make those runs. Rashford's deep movements, they basically free the space behind Diaz for Ramsey and Rogers to attack the channel runs. What happens is that Nunez is also following Ramsey inside, and Kamara can also switch the play to Digne on the left. Kamara, if he gets the ball, he can also switch the play over here, whereas Digne makes these runs from this side on the left side. That's how Aston Villa were attacking. And because Ramsey is moving over here and runs into this central channel, this space is really wide open because all the City guys are going to be, following these guys. So you have this huge gap over here. Distances between the pressing players mattered a lot. And what Unai Emery tried to do was create a gap between the pressing players and the guys who were going to build up. So he pulled his defenders back, hugging the touchline, and put the fullbacks really wide, hugging the sides. And so when Marmoush pressed Konsa or the goalkeeper, Dibu Martinez, McAtee was basically stuck in no man's land. And the double pivot of Aston Villa also dropped deep right into their box. And so these guys had to come really high up, and this created a gap over here in the center of the pitch. And so because McAtee is stuck in no man's land, Dibu Martinez would go right over the top and find Luka Dean. Alternatively, he could look for Matty Cash over here, who's not being pressed because City need to have a certain number of players at the back so that they don't get the counter attack or they don't get caught on the transition or fast vertical play. And so once Luka Dean gets the ball, we're gonna have McAtee come and press him as well as Bernardo Silva. Ramsey is the guy who's gonna drop deep, and Dean is gonna try to connect with him. And so there's this overload sort of a situation that's gonna form on this side. The idea is to get Villa's number 10s, Rogers and Ramsey, to have that edge over City's fullbacks to escape pressure, feed the fullbacks who moved into space, created behind City's fullbacks. So that was their idea. And so once Dean received the ball, Rashford and Rogers, they would surge forward. But it wasn't all just going over the top. There was some central build-up as well. When Aston Villa were building up through the central channels, Pau Torres would get the ball, De Bruyne would try to press him, and they would form this triangle between Pau Torres, Kamara, and Onana. In order to press Onana, if De Bruyne is committed to Pau Torres, then McAtee has to move in to get to Onana. And so that basically frees up space for Luka Dean over here, and he's gonna make that movement. And once he does that, then obviously everything over here pushes forward. And so once again, when if Dean receives the ball, Villa's number 10s, Rashford, they're gonna try to make that run in behind. So that if Dean gets the ball, they can make this pass. Because once Onana gets the ball, he's most likely gonna pass it to Dean because then this guy, he's sort of stuck in no man's land, outnumbered. Nunez, he's going to have to either mark Ramsey. Ruben Diaz is going to be on Rashford and Rogers. So all these three guys, they're ready to make those runs. So City need to have at least three players over here at the back marking him. And that's what makes basically, if Onana passes Dean, he's the guy with that, he's the extra man. If that play is successful and City are basically moving towards this channel over here, what Dean's going to do is he's going to make that long pass, and you got Ramsey, Rashford, and Rogers making those runs. Aston Villa, if you look at their build-up, it was in a 4-2-2 shape. Through this shape, they basically wanted to generate an overload in the midfield. So you got these two guys here, and then these four over here in the center. What Emi Martinez looked to do was, if this press is delayed, he would come dribble ball forward, and then he tried to connect with Tielemans over here. So you got Onana and Kamara being pressed by sometimes Kovacic, sometimes De Bruyne. So this gap would be created over here, and Tielemans would drop inside. Once Martinez slides that pass to Tielemans through City's press, taking out all these guys over here, the 1-2 combo between Tielemans and sometimes, Rashford, he would drop deep. This would set up Villa to go forward. And the times it would be Rogers, so you get the ball, Tielemans connect with Rashford drop in here. So they got this triangle, and so he can pass the ball here, and Rashford can pass the ball back over here, and make that curved run. And again, Villa are on their way. And if, for example, Tielemans, he's the free guy, he gets the ball and he makes that move. He can also, and if City are uh, haven't really moved back, so what he can do is he can uh, pass that ball to Luka Dean over here. So basically, the role of Luka Dean was very, very important.